Hello everyone, welcome back. If you're returning, thank you for returning. Grab yourself a pot of tea, coffee. I'm drinking some Chinese Yin tea right now in my little cup because I did not think to bring a Western sized cup, so here we are. This is going to be a bit of a talking video, and it's been something that's been on my mind, and I'm not sure I really even know how I want to word this video, but I'm going to try because it's been on my mind for so long as something that just needs to be discussed. And it's about intuition and how people identify with intuition. I'm seeing a lot of people online in the social media sphere who are claiming that they're psychic or they're medium. The label doesn't really matter. But I'm also watching them not realize that propaganda and brainwashing is not intuition. Cult psychological tactics is not intuition. I don't want to get too political in this video. That's not what this is really about. But I do want to say this, that as intuition practitioners, it is our job to practice discernment. And discernment usually involves some not so pretty truths to come to the forth, to come to light. And if you want to be real, when you have those truths coming to light, you have a few ways that that information might come through your perception. The first way, if you are intuitive through intuition, is really neutral. Okay, typically intuitive information does not have an emotional charge behind it. It comes through pretty neutral. Okay, factual, neutral. And you're not going to get emotional about it. The second way is through your own biases. And this is something I see a lot of, is people's biases coming through and them trying to claim that it's intuition when it's not intuition. Your bias is not intuition. Your bias is your bias. Okay, so just because you have a bias towards a specific group or a specific race or a specific religion or a specific, and again, I'm going to use the one that I see quite often. I used to be in the pagan YouTube sphere, and back when I was in the pagan YouTube sphere, there was a lot of bias towards Christians, and there was even more bias towards Christian pagans, Christian witches. It's a really easy example, because it's something that's existed for decades within this sphere, and is not so politically charged the way a lot of stuff is right now. But that's an example of a bias, right? A lot of people had religious damage, trauma, misunderstandings that was done to them that they never properly healed from. And so they just turned around and projected a lot in terms of their beliefs about Christianity and their beliefs about Christian witchery and Christian paganism onto other people that didn't really apply to at the end of the day, if you wanted to be honest about it. This also brings me to the third point, which is through your own traumas and your own projections, right? And this one again is really, really common, right? I see again this a lot. People who don't deal with their traumas or their projections or their hurts. Okay, trauma is really an overused word if we're going to be real about it. So I don't really want to use the word trauma because I think that honestly, like I said, it is an overused word, and I think it gets used by a lot of communities, not just the spiritual community, in a way that is improper. There's a definition that is trauma, and not everything that you don't like that happens to you is traumatic. Okay, just because you don't like someone, it doesn't mean that that person is traumatizing you. Okay, and so the language we use, again, very, very important. But I think it's also important to understand that really intuition, true intuition, okay, it's not going to always be nice and flowery information, and it's usually not going to go with a public narrative. Okay, it really astounds me how people think that because all this is coming out about the evilness of the world, I'm going to say, and the satanic everything. I have to watch what I say too, because I don't want this video to get demonetized. The Satanism of the world, the satanic acts of the world, how people all of a sudden think that because that's now a little bit more out in the open, it somehow means it's not happening anymore, and therefore it's perfectly fine. Like the mainstream propaganda, which is what it is aligned with intuition. If your intuition is aligned with propaganda at any point, it's not intuition. It's not intuition. If your intuition is emotional, it's not intuition. If your intuition is not neutral, if the information you have is not neutral, it's not intuition. If you have an emotional reaction to the information that you perceive intuitively, it's also not your intuition. And that seems to have been forgotten in these spaces. That intuition is not a projection. Just because you don't like something, it doesn't mean that that's intuitive information, okay? Just because you don't like Christian witches doesn't mean it's your intuition telling you that Christian witches are bad, okay? Because you have that pre-bias that you already don't like Christian witches because simply they're Christian witches, okay? And I think that that's been lost. That level of self-reflection within this community has been lost in the name of, well, I'm intuitive, so thereby apparently we don't need to do self-reflection. And I would argue that if anything, if you're intuitive, you need to do more self-reflection than ever, because you need to evaluate where everything that you are thinking, believing, seeing is coming from, right? You need to distance yourself from the news. You need to distance yourself because you're going to be influenced by all of that in your intuition. And the more that you pay attention to all of that propaganda outwardly, the less you're going to have a clear discernment of your intuition versus the propaganda that is being fed to you about anything. This literally applies to anything. I know a lot of people are going to make assumptions that it's just about politics, but this could be literally anything, no matter how major or how minor, right? It's not limited by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that it is not genuine. It's disingenuous, that's the word, to claim that every decision you're making on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or what's the other one? Oh, TikTok, Snapchat. Is that still a thing? Whatever ones are still a thing. I only have Instagram, so I don't know. But whatever ones are still a thing. And to say that every opinion you have is intuition is false. There's a difference between opinions and intuition. And that line is being blurred within this community. The line between your opinion about something and intuition about something is being blurred. Right? Your opinion and your intuition are not the same thing. Okay? Your intuition should be separate from your opinion. If it is not separate from your opinion, then it's not your intuition. If you can't discern, well, this is my opinion, and your intuition is always 100% aligned with your opinion, that's not intuition. At some point, you have to look and go, this is my opinion, but intuitively, I feel like something's off, and that's worrisome, so maybe I should reevaluate the situation. Have a level of intuitive critical thinking, I call it. There's critical thinking, which is where you're just looking at information and you're going, I'm not sure about that. Let me evaluate it and see where it fits within my moral compass and my ethics and what I know about that particular topic. And then there's intuition critical thinking, where you're looking and you have this opinion, you have this belief you hold, but then your intuition is not, your gut's not aligning with that belief. And then you're turning around and going, okay, well, why is that? And what most people do is they just say that the intuition's wrong, or they just say that they're misunderstanding the intuition and it does align. That's wrong. Because your intuition, if it's true intuition, is not going to lie. It's not going to lie to you. So if you have that uneasiness about something, but you're not sure why, that's when you need to have the critical understanding of the intuition. Okay, I've got this uneasiness. My opinion says this. My opinion says I should think that this person is a really good person. But my intuition says this person, there's something off. I'm not sure I should trust them. But that person has given me no reason to not trust them. That's when you need to start figuring out where it is you stand, where it is you lie, what it is that you want to do. That's being lost. In the age of AI, in the age of spiritual warfare, in the age of all this access to everything, that's being lost. Because as people, and especially people who are intuitive, spend more time online now more than ever, you're being fed information subconsciously now more than ever also. And that makes it harder to have discernment now more than ever as well. In the difference between what it is you were being fed and what it is that is your true intuition and what it is that is just your emotions and your upbringing that you have been conditioned to believe. And in order to really understand that, you need to break down all those layers. And I'm not seeing that in the community anymore. And I haven't seen that in the community for years. 6 years easily, 7 years maybe. I haven't seen that in the community. That breaking down of all these different areas, I just haven't seen it. And instead now is we have people who are claiming they're intuitive. And you know what? I'm not saying that these people aren't intuitive. What I am saying is that they make a lot of statements, assumptions, beliefs that they claim are intuition that are very obviously not. So I'm not really sure how I want to end this, because now I just feel like I'm repeating myself. But I guess it's just an encouragement for you that, evaluate yourself, evaluate what it is you believe, evaluate what it is that you're doing, evaluate where your information's coming from, who it is you're connecting to, what it is you're connecting to, how you live your life, which beliefs do you hold that are conflicting with other beliefs you hold. Something else I've noticed. And where does that discernment lie? Because if that discernment's in your emotions, it's not discernment. If that discernment is external validation, it's not discernment at that point. And really just understanding that. I don't have a nice way to end this. I didn't really think of a proper conclusion or ending to this. So I'm going to leave it there because that's the brunt of what I wanted to say. And I don't want to ramble too much. So I'm going to leave it there. And I'll see you all in the next video. And let me know what you think down below in the comments. And like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.